Okay, so welcome to MM209. This is my audio recording for our lesson plan. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do is introduce you to the problem. We're going to do that by reading the problem to begin with. So, Alex, Mary, Joe, and Susie each ordered a large pizza from the pizzeria. Alex ate 2/4 of his pizza. Mary ate 1/5 of hers. Joe ate 3/6 of his pizza, and Susie ate 2/3 of hers. Who ate the most of their pizza? Who ate the least of their pizza? Who ate the same amount of their pizzas? Order the fractions from smallest to largest on a number line to find out. So the first thing we want to do is brainstorm what we already know about fractions. What are some of the things we know? Well, yes, a fraction is a part of a whole or a part of a set. So we can see here that in the two examples, 1/4 is shaded. What else do we know about fractions? Well, they're used in a variety of ways in our daily lives. How are they used? That's right. We use fractions when we're sharing. For example, you can see here cutting an apple into quarters to share equally among 4 friends. How else? That's right. In telling the time, we use fractions. We say things like 1/4 and 1/2. Here we can see the time is 12:15. Here's another way that we use fractions in our daily lives. When we're thinking about spending money, we see advertising all around us on television and in magazines and things like that. And we always see advertisements for half price or 50% off. That's fractions. We also use fractions when we're doing things like measuring, and there's 2 examples here. So the first we can see is a number line, a ruler line. And we use fractions when we're doing things like measuring centimeters. Here we can see that 5.5 centimeters are shaded. We also use fractions in things like cooking. Here we can see a measuring cup. We might see things in a recipe such as 3/4 of a cup of flour or 1/3 of a cup of flour, something like that. So we can see that we use fractions everywhere in our daily lives. What are some other things that we know? Well, a fraction has both a numerator and a denominator. If we look at the images to the right, we can imagine if that was an ice cube tray and I filled up one of those cubes with water. We can see that 1 cube out of 3 cubes altogether has been filled. So 1/3. Okay, we also know that fractions are one number. Even though they're represented as one number over another, we can see by looking at the number line here that a fraction is one number. Here we can see that half is the number between 0 and 1. And lastly, we know that fractions must be equal. If I was to look at the circle on the left here, if I was to imagine it was a cake and say I'm going to cut it here and I'm going to share it between myself and my friend, would that be equal? I could say that there are 2 pieces there, but it's not a fraction, is it? Because the parts aren't equal. What about the circle on the right? If I shared cake between myself and my friend, and I'd cut the cake like that, that would be a fraction, wouldn't it? Because both sides are equal. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the problem again, and we're going to think, first of all, we're not going to worry about trying to solve it or looking at all of the numbers in there. The first thing we're going to do is look at the problem and see what it is asking us to do to solve the problem. What kind of strategy does it want us to use to solve the problem? So let's read the problem again. Alex, Mary, Joe, and Susie each ordered a large pizza from the pizzeria. Alex ate 2/4 of his pizza. Mary ate 1/5 of hers. Joe ate 3/6 of his pizza, and Susie ate 2/3 of hers. Who ate the most of their pizza? Who ate the least of their pizza? Who ate the same amount of their pizzas? Order the fractions from smallest to largest on a number line. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. We are going to look at putting our fractions into an order so that we can compare them. Alright, let's have a look now at what the important information is that we are going to need so that we can order these fractions from smallest to largest to compare them. So, if you make your way to the desks with your partners, I've given you each a copy of the problem and a highlighter. I want you to work with your partners. You can talk amongst yourselves, read the problem together, and think about what the important information is in this problem. What are the main things that we need to remember, or the main pieces of information that we need to use to solve the problem? Okay, so taking a look at what one group is doing, we're going to have a look at the language that they're highlighting. And to get them thinking about what important pieces of information they need, we're going to ask some questions. So we're going to think about what is important. Is the fact that we're talking about pizza important? Well, no, because we could be talking about cake, we could be talking about pieces of fruit, we talk about anything that can be shared or divided into different sizes. What about the characters' names? Are they important? Well, I guess you could say that we need to remember who ate what piece or what fraction of their pizza. But if we can recall from what we looked at previously, the question is asking us to order these fractions in a line from smallest to largest. So we're not going to be too worried about their names. What about terms such as most or least or the same amount? Well, these are important terms, aren't they? Because we need to have a look at what fractions are larger and smaller than other fractions, or what fractions are the same as other fractions, in order to compare them on our number line. And yes, the last important piece of information that we need to look at is what the problem is actually asking us to do. It wants us to use this information to order the fractions from smallest to largest on a number line, so we can compare who ate the most, who ate the least, who ate the same amount of pizza. Okay, so once this activity has been finished, we're going to introduce children to 4 of their pizzas. Now, my suggestion is that they have actually made their own healthy homemade pizzas in our previous lesson, and they are going to use 4 of these as examples for this maths activity. So, gathering the class at the front of the room, we're going to display 4 whole pizzas to them. Now, that's important. When we're looking at these pizzas, we need to use terms such as whole pizzas to recognise that there is in fact 1, 2, 3, 4 wholes all together. So what we're going to do is think about the question. Think about, what are these 4 pizzas going to represent? Well, that's right, they're going to represent each of the characters in our story. Alex, Joe, Susie and Mary. What we're going to do with these pizzas is cut them into fractions so that we can have a look at what each fraction looks like, which is larger, which is smaller, and that'll give us a better understanding of which fractions are larger, which fractions are smaller, and which are the same, so that we can then compare them, and eventually we'll be able to order these fractions in their written form on a number line So that will be the initial activity that children engage in. And that's 10 minutes.